Hello, friends. John Stuart Mill, a politician and philosopher, once wrote the following words: "Bad men need nothing more to compass their ends than that good men should look on and do nothing." And as sad as that may sound, it's the truth. Today our story is about one such case, which happened to a 16-year-old girl from Britain named Shannon. But I think, as you can imagine, everything was completely different in our story. A few years ago, a schoolgirl from Gosport was going through probably the worst period in her life. Prom was coming up, and like for any girl, this day was special for Shannon. She had been looking forward to it for a long time. She spent several months picking out a beautiful dress. She wanted to look irresistible, or at least like herself. Why herself? Because in our story, because of her classmates' ridicule, not only was Shannon forced to abandon the celebration, she spent it alone with tears in her eyes. Our heroine is a very sweet and pleasant girl, but people, especially teenagers, can be very cruel. Shannon didn't have any problems with her classmates until 9th grade, but 2 years before graduation, she was diagnosed with a serious illness, ulcerative colitis and arthritis, and her whole world changed. After a month in the hospital, the girl began to notice unkind looks from others. At first, it was just mocking and teasing, but then came the insults, which spread to social networks. This was very difficult to deal with. "They used to call me the most horrible names. I can't even repeat them," the girl said, barely holding back her tears. She even had to change her phone number, but the ridicule didn't stop. But be that as it may, it was the 11th grade graduation, and Shannon decided to go to prom like an ordinary schoolgirl. But just a few days before that special evening, she came home in tears. As the girl's mother, Claire, recalled, "Literally the night before prom, Shannon told me that she wasn't going. I knew that something was wrong, and when I asked my daughter what had happened, she said that her classmates were planning to go to a restaurant, but they hadn't invited Shannon. They didn't even tell her about it. It was so painful for me to look at my child and know that I couldn't do anything to help her." But as it turned out later, help came from where no one had expected. That night, Claire, with sadness in her eyes, was looking at photos of her daughter in a new snow-white dress, which she had tried on a few days before. She looked so beautiful, but also so sad that her mother decided to share a photo on her Facebook page. Here is what she wrote: "This is my gorgeous daughter in her beautiful prom dress, but unfortunately, she won't get to spend this evening the way she wanted." After a while, people started replying to the mother's post, interested in what had happened and why Shannon wasn't going to prom. Then Claire had to share this story, and at the time, she never could have guessed what would happen next. Claire's post started gaining momentum in their hometown, and then strangers started commenting that the girl deserved to make that day special. Soon, there were offers to hold a graduation ceremony, especially for Shannon. The huge number of people who were prepared to come and support her was nothing short of amazing. As Claire later said, "I couldn't believe it was possible. This was my first time seeing these people, and they were saying they were ready to come to my daughter's party." Then Claire thought, "Why not? We can have our own graduation." After the girl's mother made a post with the date and invited absolutely everyone to the celebration who would read it, she couldn't even have imagined what would happen next. When the day came on July 22nd, relatives and friends of the family decided to support the graduate. The girl and her mother arrived at the appointed place, and they were speechless. The entire central street of the city was filled with people. A huge number of unknown men and women had come to support them, all of whom were in elegant suits and fancy dresses. But they weren't the only ones to attend. Bikers even responded to the event, and 120 motorcyclists came from another city that day just to support the graduate. As one of the motorcyclists later said, When we saw the post, we didn't hesitate. When all the guys heard about it, it was a unanimous decision. The girl was even given a ride on a motorcycle to the building where the celebration was supposed to take place. And when the bikers and Shannon arrived, two men took her in their arms and carried her into the restaurant. It is also worth noting that the owner of the restaurant had kindly helped to arrange this special day. It seemed like the whole city had come that day. In order to take a group photo of all the guests on the lawn, the photographer had to move 20 yards away. It was the best day in the girl's life. She danced all night and had fun with her new friends and relatives, and a smile never left her face. Shannon herself shared her impressions of that evening and said it was better than she could have ever imagined. Of course, Claire and her daughter were very moved by the fact that even strangers had supported them in these tough times, and had decided to make the celebration unforgettable with their presence. They all had their own plans, but they still found the time to come and support us. It's unbelievable. After the news about the incredible prom spread throughout social media, even celebrities and royals decided to support the young woman. 2 weeks after that wonderful evening, Shannon had a meeting with Prince William, and a little later with the famous motorcycle racer Shane Byrne. It is also worth noting that after 120 bikers had visited the city, the girl's problems with school bullies vanished. Since that day, the mocking and rude comments on social media have stopped. So here's a story, friends, which shows that there is still hope in the world and there is always a place for good deeds when they are needed. There are many caring people who will always come to the rescue. But for today, perhaps that's all. Rate the video and see you soon.